Believe in yourself, prepare, and be the most determined person on the planet to succeed.
What's up, everybody? This is Fred Richani. We have right here via Zoom a very special guest. He's a three-time Super Bowl champion. He's a football legend. He is somebody who is the patriarch of a football family, and he is a successful entrepreneur. We are talking to Denver Broncos legend Ed McCaffrey. Ed, thank you so much for the time. How's everything going?
It is going great, Fred. Thank you for having me on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, but also sending me the McCaffrey protein bites. I enjoyed them very much. Before we dive into the recent draft, the upcoming season, all that jazz as far as football goes, for fans wondering what you've been up to lately, can you tell us about McCaffrey protein bites and all the great work you're doing with McCaffrey brands?
Yeah, this is what I've been up to lately. We launched our first healthy snack nationally over the last couple of months. We introduced them prior to the Super Bowl, and now they're on the shelves of Dick's Sporting Goods stores all across the country. You can buy them online at McCaffreybrands.com, and hopefully they'll be on a lot of other retailer shelves here pretty soon, certainly in 2026. And it's the whole family's participating. I saw you had that picture up, but this is our first entire family food product that we created, and it was created for everyone. And I know when you hear healthy snack, you start thinking about something else. You can see them up behind me there, but they're gluten-free, they're non-GMO, they're plant-based protein snacks. I don't think we get enough protein in our diet. I don't think we spread that protein out throughout the day enough. So hopefully this will help people to do it, but most importantly, it is delicious. So I know there's a lot of talk about healthy foods and natural ingredients. These are natural ingredients, everything's sustainably made, and but they taste great. Our flavors are birthday cake, fudge brownie, and chocolate chip cookie dough. Which one did you have?
I got all three, but I enjoyed the chocolate chip cookie dough. The girlfriends took the birthday cake.
Yeah, cookie dough is probably our number one bestseller, but birthday cake's maybe the sweetest. And then I like fudge brownie too. I keep a bag in my golf bag. But I made them for everyone in our family. There's so many kids with allergies. There's so many athletes that have intolerances, and it's hard for them to eat food either right before a game or at halftime or right after a game. So we created a really easily digestible snack that's delicious. That's for everybody. It's for youth athletes. It's for mom. It's for dad. During your radio show, if or your podcast, if you took breaks, you could have them during the breaks and be able to chew them and eat them and have a little energy to finish the show without, eating a cheesesteak or veal parmesan or something like that. So they're really healthy, delicious ways to get your protein intake throughout the day. And I know protein is a big movement. It always has been important, but it's a really big movement lately. And so we're very proud of it, and everyone seems to like it. I'm glad you like it as well.
It's kind of crazy, right? You had a fantastic career, especially in the NFL. Played about 13 years, won 3 Super Bowls, was on the Broncos anniversary team, and now you're, of course, not only a full-time dad, but a full-time entrepreneur. How do you juggle everything these days during a time when maybe some people want to slow down?
Yeah, I retired at 36, which is pretty young age to retire, and got bored, started working, did a bunch of different jobs with different companies throughout the years, and was never happy being stagnant for too long. I got to be moving. I got to be part of a team. I got to be working towards a goal. That's just how I'm wired. So even though I took little intermittent breaks during my career after football, I never really slowed down for too long. So I've been running a football camp, which I have coming up again in June since 1998 every year here in Colorado. I coached my kids in youth league. I coached high school. I coached college, trained guys to get ready for the draft. I've worked for real estate companies, done a whole lot of different really interesting things. But our McCaffrey Brands products have been selling since 1998. We had Ed's End Zone O's, the cereal, and we had Eddie Mac and Cheese. But, that was back when I was still playing, and the food products were great, but they were more like collectibles. The one that really stuck that had staying power was our spicy brown mustard, because the manufacturer is phenomenal. Come from a family of mustard makers, been making mustard and horseradishes for over 100 years. And we taste tested a million different varieties and finally came up with flavors that we really loved. And I think the combination of the fact that I played for the Broncos to help people become aware that we were offering mustard and horseradish, and the fact that it's a phenomenal product, have allowed us to stay on shelves for over 26 years. But it wasn't recently, over the last couple of years when I stopped coaching, that I decided to really expand and grow our company. And so we went from having spicy brown and horseradish on the shelves to adding yellow mustard, which you can get at King Supers here in Colorado or city markets. We have horseradish sauce as well that you can purchase at Safeway and Albertsons. And they're very great partners of ours, and we're able to expand our line now. We're going to have some additions. I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but we have a couple of other condiment products that'll be coming out in the next couple of months. So we're expanding that vertical of our business, and we're also going to expand our healthy snack vertical as well. So we started with protein bites because these were the best tasting snack I could find. We have another incredible manufacturer that does a phenomenal job of creating a great product for us. And but we've looked at expanding into oatmeal and cereal and granola and all these other different healthy snack categories. But the protein bites are so dang delicious. I signed off on them. We're not going to sign off on anything unless it tastes great and is incredibly healthy. We're all about making good food taste better with our condiment lines, and we're all about making healthy food taste great with our healthy snack category. So for now, it's protein bites. We're looking to expand with retail throughout the country. We obviously have our website, and we should be on Amazon soon. But right now, if you want to try them out, McCaffreybrands.com sells the mustard and the protein. We're going to break that website into two because it's confusing when people see mustard and horseradish right next to healthy McCaffrey Brands protein bites. But it's all part of the learning process. It's been luckily, my business partner, Ty, who's been in the business for 35 years, has helped me navigate a lot of the minutia necessary to create partnerships with retailers and, everything from getting your UPCs inserted into One World Sync and all these other different platforms that you have in order to be able to sell retail and negotiating pricing and warehousing and shipping and working through, supply chain distribution issues. There's all these different things that go into running a business. And I'm just, obsessed with learning more and more. And I feel like I learn something every day. But one thing I feel confident about is knowing what a healthy, delicious tasting snack should look like, since I've probably tasted every single healthy snack that is sold known to mankind from the time I was playing to the time I was coaching my kids and providing healthy snacks for the young players that I coached, to now as an adult looking for ways to eat healthy, to maintain my weight, not to lose or gain, but to maintain and to stay healthy and longer, really. I mean, I think that's our goal, live healthy longer. And one of the ways we can do that is by eating properly.
That is for sure. And I'm sure when you started your journey in entrepreneurship or even just in endorsing, it was kind of a brave new world, right? Because, and we see this right now with a lot of young athletes. Sometimes they get associated with different brands, business partners that maybe they shouldn't put their name on. So when did you realize, at what point in your career did you realize, like, hey, like I got to be careful with what I endorse and what says Ed McCaffrey?
That's a great question. And I went through that many times, and I turned down many potential sponsorship opportunities when I was a player because I didn't want to associate my name with those particular products or services. And so I never endorsed a product that I didn't really believe in and that I didn't use. So if I wasn't going to eat that food product, I wasn't going to endorse it. If I wasn't going to use a particular product, and I'm thinking of several that I've endorsed over the years, I wouldn't endorse the product. So it had to be something that I really used for me to even think about endorsing that product. And then it would have to be a reliable company, so that, I would be able to lend them my endorsement. But with our food products, it was pretty much a no-brainer. Obviously, almost everybody has mustard in their refrigerator or, when they buy it new in their pantry. So, and I eat mustard every single day. I eat super healthy when I was a player. I was eating very lean protein sources like turkey and low-fat chicken. And a lot of my foods were pretty bland. And so I needed flavor is what I was looking for. And so my go-to, because it had zero fat and super low calorie, was spicy brown mustard. And maybe that was a little bit of my Pennsylvania influence. I went to high school in Allentown, Pennsylvania, put spicy brown mustard on almost everything. And so that was kind of my go-to. It was turkey with spicy brown mustard, lettuce, tomato, onion. And when I was in California, a toasted Dutch crunch roll, which are phenomenal. You don't find those everywhere. But if not, it'd be toasted sourdough bread. And those are all great, healthy things, that were on my sandwich. And I added flavor with the spicy brown mustard. So was very neurotic about the way I ate when I was younger. So that was an easy go-to for me.
It's funny because one of the reasons we also were trying to schedule this interview for a while is also to talk about the draft. Of course, now the draft has come and gone. You're a football dad to incredibly talented athletes, one coach as well. And we saw Shedeur Sanders, now the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, fall very far in the draft. A lot of people thought he'd be the first round, maybe even the first overall pick. As a football dad, are you kind of surprised that Shedeur fell and got backlash for his dad being Deion Sanders, who was publicly very supportive of him?
I don't think Deion is shy. He's not afraid of being in the public eye. I don't think Shedeur is shy or afraid of being in the public eye. They've been around professional football their whole lives because their dad was a player, broadcaster, announcer, now a coach. So they've been around it their whole lives. I think Deion had them pretty well prepared in terms of how to handle adversity, how to handle whether or not he got drafted high or low. And everybody realizes that what really matters is once you get to your team that you produce, right? And that's what it's all about, what you do, what you get done. So you want to be a respected player, especially when you're a quarterback among your teammates. You want to be a leader among your teammates. You want to be coachable. You want to put the team first. You want to show everybody that you're going to do whatever you can possibly do to help the team become better. And there's no really shortcut to that. When you're a high profile person, you're going to get criticism one way or the other. It kind of goes with the job description. And I don't think Shedeur was surprised by that. He probably thought he would get drafted higher. And it really sucks to slip in the draft, whether you slip one pick, 1 round, 5 rounds. It's a very, very exciting day, draft day. And if you get drafted high and higher than you thought you would, that's a incredible surprise. And if you start slipping, it seems like time stands still. Like you can't get drafted fast enough. So, judging from what I've seen, at least on social media, he seems to be really enjoying OTAs, being with his teammates, knowing that has a chance to compete, to play, and he's in a good place. But I'm sure that day was pretty stressful for him.
As I mentioned, of course, you are a football dad to an incredibly talented family, and you're a devoted father, devoted husband. But was there ever a point in time, especially being a Super Bowl champion, where you had to step back a little bit and be like, okay, yes, I've been there, done that, but I got to let these guys be their own men?
Yeah, I mean, Lisa and I never signed our kids up for football until they asked to play. So, being a Denver Bronco, living in Colorado, having won a couple Super Bowls here, I was very aware that there could be some added pressure on my kids if they decided to play football. So we did not want to force them into the sport. We waited for them to ask, but we also agreed that once they asked, we weren't going to tell them that they couldn't play. I think it's the greatest sport in the world. I think it's especially great for young men, and it's an incredible team sport. It's probably the most strategic sport that there is. And so when they asked to play, we signed them up. I didn't know how long they would play. Maybe they'd play 1 year and think that was enough. Maybe they'd be interested in something else other than sports. And they do have interests other than sports, but they decided to play football. Max, when he was 9, they started 6 in Colorado. Christian, when he was 7, because he's 2 years younger than Max, he saw Max playing and then he wanted to play. And then Luke and Dylan started at 6 years old. So, as fate would have it, all 4 of our boys decided that's what they wanted to do with their lives. And I was probably hardest on Max, our oldest son, because I was still playing and then I kind of retired and started coaching for the first time. And I had to learn when you take your coach's cap off and just be a dad, because practice can turn into the ride home, can turn into the dinner table. And I think I've learned that your kids just want to know you love them and you're proud of them, and it's great to coach them and they can benefit from that, but at the same time you got to be a dad first. So one of the things I learned through trial and error was that it's much easier, and I think better, for a father to at times coach through other coaches. That's where I first learned how important it is to coach your coaches and to coach through other coaches if you're coaching your own kid. So I would always be there for all my boys when they had a question. If they had a question about football, if they had a question about practice, if they had a question about the game, or a question about anything for that matter in life, I was always there for them and ready to hopefully give them good answers. And but once we left the practice field, I kind of left it up to them to decide if they wanted to have those discussions. Um, but on the practice field, I would make sure that if I had a point I wanted to get across to my sons, I would tell it to one of our assistant coaches. And then they would relay the information. And I can't tell you how many times we'd be around the dinner table and they'd say, "Hey, guess what? Coach told me at practice today." I'm like, "Man, your coach sounds like a pretty sharp guy. I'd keep listening to him if I was you." And I had great assistant coaches as well. But every now and again, if I had to get a point across, it helped me maintain being a dad and not always being a coach by having my friends and fellow coaches help me to coach my own kids.
Yeah, sometimes they need a different voice, right?
Yeah, but other times they had questions. Like sometimes they really wanted answers, and I think my kids, just like any player that I've ever coached, right? The really competitive players, and I know there's a difference between youth league and high school and college and the NFL. There's a difference in ability and there's a difference in interest sometimes, right? Some kids when they're younger are just playing to be part of a team, and maybe that's not their true love and they're happy to be there, but maybe they don't have a lot of questions and they're just going along to get along, and that's fine. I mean, and when you're young, that's what you do. You try a lot of different things and see what you like, and then keep doing that as you get older. But the kids that are really in love with a particular sport, in this case, football, they typically ask a lot of questions because they want to learn. And the greatest thing you can do for them is help them to get better. That's what they want you to do as a coach. Help me get better, right? And so that's why I would always try to be really well prepared, especially as they got older and they're playing at a higher level and they have really good coaches themselves. Always really be prepared to give them great answers, because I think for those types of kids, for the alpha kids who are really gifted physically, but also are super uber competitive, if you can't help them get better, then they don't really need you as a coach any longer. I'm there for moral support as a dad, but as a coach, that's what they want. And so, yeah, there were times where my kids asked lots of questions, and every team I've ever coached, I've encouraged the kids, like, if you really want to get better, ask questions. And I've encouraged our coaches, really be prepared, because the best kids and the most competitive kids, they also know ball, especially as they get older. So be prepared to give them the right answers and be prepared to help them to get better.
Very well said. Love that insight. Well, Ed, you've been so gracious with your time. Of course, McCaffrey Brands, you can check out all of Ed's great products. Before we let you go, Ed, we always like to ask all our guests some random and rapid fire questions just to get to know them better. Are you ready?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. I know you're a healthy guy, and besides any of the great products of McCaffrey Brands, what's your favorite late night snack or cheat meal?
These are my favorite chocolate chip cookie dough ones, but I will also sometimes eat granola at night. That's probably one of my go-to, and I love almonds. So sometimes I'll add almonds into the granola to give it a little extra flavor.
Any cheat meal, though? Anything you're not supposed to eat that once in a blue moon you treat yourself to?
Yes. Well, when I was a player, I was very neurotic, and I would follow the Body for Life workout during the off season. So I was working out twice a day, eating super healthy, eating 5 to 6 meals a day, would never eat 2 meals within 2 to 4 hours, counting every calorie, every gram of protein, carbohydrate, and fat, counting my liquids, timing my meals, etc. And I would eat super healthy, but one day I'd have an off day. And during that off day, I'm going to eat a porterhouse steak with some steak fries, and I'm going to have some form of ice cream for dessert. Ice cream might be one of my favorite foods of all time. So we haven't come out with a healthy ice cream yet, but if I can ever come out with a super great tasting healthy ice cream, I'm going to do it because it is my favorite food. Try to limit it to my off day.
You've played with a lot of great players in your day. Of course, you were an awesome player in your day as well. Is there anybody that you feel like was underrated or maybe doesn't get enough love, especially on those Super Bowl teams?
I'll start with our coach, Mike Shanahan. He's the last coach who's won back-to-back Super Bowls who's not in the Hall of Fame. It's really unbelievable. I think most people think he's already in the Hall of Fame, but for some reason he's not. A lot of my teammates are John Elway and Steve Atwater and Gary Zimmerman and Shannon Sharp, right on down the line. A lot of my Terrell Davis, a lot of my teammates are, a lot of the guys he coached, but he's not in it. And I'm really baffled by that. I don't know what it's going to take, but I know that a lot of coaches that are in the Hall of Fame have already spoken publicly about how he should be in. Coaches that coached against him, coaches maybe that don't have the stats, that haven't won back-to-back Super Bowls, who deserve to be in the Super Bowl, in the Hall of Fame, but admittedly say that he should be in. So I think of the players that I played with who aren't in the Hall of Fame, who should be, and the coaches that I played for who aren't in the Hall of Fame that should be. Mike Shanahan is the one that really stands out. And I'll speak to his coaching tree. I mean, look at his coaching tree. Not only does his son Kyle coach the San Francisco 49ers, and a lot of the coaches that coach for me are on his staff, and coaches, players that he coached are like in the front office, like John Lynch, right? And then you look at LaFleur and McVay, and right on down the line, he's got 4 or 5 different guys that are head coaches in the NFL that are from his coaching tree. I mean, the impact he's had on the NFL has just been phenomenal. And I know he's going to get in, but I'll be honest with you. When uh, I look at so many of the players in other sports, in baseball recently, guys that are now eligible or that may get in. Some of them have passed away already, right? And you're like, this, I don't know how long it's going to take, but Mike Shanahan belongs in the Hall of Fame, and I hope that the voters see that, understand it, and do the right thing, and put him in sooner rather than later.
Hey, totally agree there. And hey, you played for him, man. You said it yourself. And I got to ask you, this is more of a football nerd question, but somebody that does remember a lot of those Mike Shanahan teams. Have you ever seen a head coach get more out of running backs in particular?
Well, he knows the run game, and he really pioneered the run game. He designed our run game. We made the outside zone pretty popular. 1,000-yard running backs, 2,000-yard running backs, just about every single season. He also did a phenomenal job of coaching quarterbacks, both pure pocket passers, dual threat quarterbacks, and runners. RG3 was the rookie of the year in Washington when he was coaching in Washington, and he had phenomenal success with John Elway and was the offensive coordinator in San Francisco with Steve Young when we won the Super Bowl back in 1994, Super Bowl 29. And obviously he's known for Terrell Davis and us putting up a 2,000-yard season with him. He was a guy that made everyone block in the run game. Matter of fact, that's how Rod Smith and if I had to mention an underrated player, it'd be Rod Smith, but he's in our Ring of Fame. Hopefully he'll be in the Hall of Fame one day. But we basically got our jobs because we were backup wide receivers because we would block in the run game. And then we did such a great job of blocking. Occasionally they forgot that we were in there and they threw us a pass and we caught it and made a play. And they're like, maybe we can leave these guys in there. But it was really the run game that was the basis of the West Coast offense. And a lot of people don't know that. And the West Coast offense changed drastically from the time Bill Walsh was running it. They had more two backs, more split backs, more, gap schemes and man schemes than outside zone schemes like Mike Shanahan pioneered. But he brought in Alex Gibbs and they designed our run game, which totally matched up with our play action passing game and our play passes. So it was really pretty genius. And even though it's changed to some extent, the basis of the run game that we were executing in the late 90s, or even in the mid 90s with the 49ers, the basis of that run game is very, very similar today with all the coaches that I mentioned, with all the teams that are represented from his coaching tree. And that I think is very unique. I don't know if there's too many more coaches that have had that much of an impact than Mike Shanahan in this league. But running the ball was incredibly important. It starts with your O-line, right? You have to have a great running back running behind the O-line. But the tone of the run game is set with the wide receivers, because a lot of wide receivers believe that shoulders were made to support your suit jackets, not to block. It's kind of like corners who don't like to tackle, right? So if you played for Mike Shanahan, you had to be willing to block as a wide receiver. You wouldn't get on the field. Or if you were good and were on the field, he's going to get you off there as soon as he could replace you, which is what gave me the opportunity to start for the Denver Broncos. So tone set by the wide receivers. Running back can't do anything without the O-line. And then having a great running back coach like Bobby Turner, who's still doing it out in San Francisco, helps you get the most out of that running back position. And it was so fun. My favorite memories were blocking down the field and watching Terrell Davis run by me and just see that number 30 taken off towards the end zone, because I knew he got past my guy. Nobody wanted to be the guy that missed their block, right? Everyone wanted to be the guy that made their block to let him score, and we had some fun doing it.
It's really some fun, and it's fun to hear you talk football. I could listen to it all day. You mentioned blocking. You're considered one of the best blockers for wide receivers in recent NFL history, and for good reason. And that's obviously one of the reasons you earned your keep and got those Super Bowl rings. Besides your sons, is there any receiver or any player right now that you see in the NFL that reminds you of you? Maybe somebody that didn't always rack up the receiving yards and touchdowns, but is willing to do the dirty work for his team?
Oh, I think there's a lot of players out there that are willing to block. They have to have coaches that demand it, and they have to be wired that way. So, I'd say those receivers out there with the 49ers are doing a pretty good job. They have to block. They know they have Coach Kyle Shanahan is, doesn't fall far from his father's mentality and thinking in terms of the responsibilities of the wide receivers. So they do a pretty good job out there. And I know that, every team works on it, but most teams have the guys that just almost get there, but don't quite get there. And, experienced receivers know the difference. But I'd say they do a real good job in San Francisco.
You have 3 Super Bowl rings. Which one's your favorite?
Oh, they're all that's like asking which is your favorite kid. So I love all my Super Bowl rings. I'll say, San Francisco, that was the first Super Bowl I got to win. That was really cool. I think Super Bowl 32 was really special because it was the first Super Bowl in Denver Broncos history. And there had been fans that had been going to games with their families, had suffered through multiple losses in the Super Bowl, had thought that perhaps they would never see the day when the Denver Broncos won one. I got to be in the back of the victory formation when John Elway took his knee to end the game, and he turned around and he was like crying and laughing and didn't know what to do, and just to be there and watch the clock tick down, 3, 2, 1, and realize that we did it. We finally did it. And, I talk to fans every day to this day, every day. I'll go to the grocery store or the post office or I'm watching a game or something. And someone brings up Super Bowl 32 and they talk to me about how they used to go with their granddad or their dad and they finally got to celebrate. Some kids were going with their dad for like 20 years and he had passed and never got to experience it. And, they put stuff on the grave. I mean, that's how important it was for Denver Broncos fans. It had been a long time coming. And so to be part of an organization's first ever Super Bowl and to see how much it meant to our fan base was pretty special.
That's amazing to hear, and especially now that to this day you're still part of that Denver community.
Yeah, every single day. It's crazy. And people will ask me, do you ever get tired of talking about it? And I tell them, no, I do not get tired of talking about it. It was, they were some of the greatest years of my life. And I mean, you can never take it away. You can't be part of the first Super Bowl ever again. And it was just so special for so many people that, it's created like this lifelong bond between the players that were on our team, the coaches and our fan base. And that's pretty cool.
What's the best piece of advice you could give for success?
Believe in yourself, prepare, and be the most determined person on the planet to succeed. So I'm always about action, not words. You don't need to talk about it. You just need to roll up your sleeves and get it done.
Wise words from a wise man. And one more high note for anybody that hasn't already been convinced, why should people check out McCaffrey Brands?
Yeah, well, if you want the greatest tasting healthy snack on the planet, if you want to become a better athlete or have more energy throughout the day, if you're a mom or dad, this is what you want to go for. Chocolate chip cookie dough, birthday cake, and fudge brownie. Your doctors have probably never told you that you could eat chocolate chip cookie dough, birthday cake, and fudge brownie and get healthier and have more energy and recover quicker between workouts or games, but you can. They probably never told you could have them pregame, at halftime, or postgame to fuel your body so that you perform at your best. But you can. And so I'm very proud of them. McCaffreybrands.com is where you're going to find them. Or if you're near a Dick's Sporting Goods store, they're on the shelves at Dick's Sporting Goods and soon to be on retail shelves all over the place on Amazon. But they're delicious. Like everyone wants to eat healthier, right? And everyone wants their healthy foods to taste great. Well, finally have that chance.
Excellent pitch there. Bonus question. Is there anything you wish I asked you in this interview?
No, I'm just really glad you like the protein bites, honestly, because I don't know what your answer is going to be when we get on the show. And so thank goodness most people have really loved them and you did as well. We'll have to send you some more. So thank you for asking about them. Again, I'm really so incredibly proud. I'm shouting from the mountaintops. All of my kids love them. Lisa loves them. And this is what I'm doing with my life now, man. I am pouring everything I have into growing McCaffrey Brands. And right now it's the protein bites, mustard, horseradish is still on the shelves, but we're going to be coming out with a whole bunch of different products as well over the next several months. And I'm really excited about it. And thank you for mentioning it on your show. I appreciate it.
For sure. And I am so sorry. Is it okay if I ask you one more question? This just came to mind. This is a very personal question. So,
Okay.
I apologize in advance. You mentioned your wife, Lisa. who is a great mom, was a phenomenal athlete in her own right. And I think it's very important for people, whether, they're single, taken in the dating phase, or just looking for, some good people to surround themselves with. How important is it to find the right partner, whether it be, a spouse, a best friend, somebody who supports you and understands the dedication you need for something like football and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I think it's the most important decision you can make with your life. That's how important I think that is. So I know it doesn't always happen for everybody. It doesn't always happen when we would like it to happen. But if you are lucky enough to fall in love with someone who's the right person for you, then I think, deciding to marry them or make them your partner is the most important decision you will make in your life.
Shout out to Lisa. Ed, thank you so much for your time. Of course, McCaffreybrands.com. You also check out his football camps.